We talk about this so much with the abortion issue is, do men have a place? Do men have a say? And so often if a man gets his girlfriend or wife pregnant, they say, oh, whatever you decide, I'll support you. That's actually not helpful. What she wants to hear is that you're here for her. You're gonna get her through this. You're gonna be the shoulder to lean on. You're gonna do whatever it takes to make her as comfortable and happy as possible in a time that might not be the easiest. The most important thing is for men to be.
Some people stumble into the pro-life movement through a moment, a story, or a personal encounter. But today's guest, she was raised in it. When your grandfather is Joe Scheidler, the godfather of the pro-life movement, and your childhood memories include prayer vigils on the sidewalk and conversations about human dignity around the dinner table, activism isn't just something you do. It's something you grow up breathing. Hope Fryer is the director of youth outreach for Pro-Life Action League, supporting the next generation, carrying forward a legacy of courage and conviction. But she isn't simply just repeating what came before. She's reimagining what effective, sustainable activism looks like in a post-Dobbs America. From leading a pro-life group at 14 to meeting wildly uneducated college students on college campuses today, from sidewalk counseling to go boxes in the backseat of her car, Hope is showing young people that living pro-life isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. And it's a lifestyle the next generation is hungry to claim. Today, we learn from Hope what the future of the pro-life engagement might very well look like. This is Living Pro-Life. Hey, thanks for listening to Living Pro-Life. Make sure to be part of the growing base of people making Coalition Life happen. And so we ask you today, please consider donating $1 for our One Life campaign. Your $1 can help build a culture of life. Your $1 can help save a baby from the tragedy of abortion. Your $1 can help women in need who need us more than ever. Consider donating $1 today, supporting our mission here at Coalition Life, and ultimately helping to end abortion throughout our great country. Now back to Living Pro-Life. Well, welcome, Hope. Good to have you on the program.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Hope, let's get right into it. You have a very popular and well-known family. You come from a great family line. Probably one of the longest pro-life family lines that I'm aware of. So tell me about how you got involved in the pro-life movement.
Well, it wasn't so much like getting involved. It was just I was always involved. My grandfather is Joe Scheidler, and some call him the godfather of the pro-life movement, me included. And he was the first real activist, keeping the pro-life movement alive and in the general public and talking about it. He quit his job when their fourth child, my mom, was born to be able to really focus on ending this. And unfortunately, kind of naively, he thought, if people just saw the reality of abortion, surely they would stop because this is barbaric and we live in a civilized country. And then he spent the rest of his life fighting for the unborn. He thought it would take a couple years at most. And then 50 years later, literally the weekend before he passed away, he was still going into the office working. He did a speech like a month before. He was scheduled to do a speech the Saturday after he passed. And, he was fighting for these unborn children. And so I grew up in that. My uncle, Eric Scheidler, is now the executive director of the Pro-Life Action League. And so he runs that. He's my boss and my uncle. So that's kind of fun. My grandma's still involved. She's the president. So yeah, I just grew up in it. My mom always brought me to things. But it became very personal to me when I was about 12 years old. And that's when I really started taking on a more independent role in the movement for the unborn.
Well, what happened? Of course, that leads the question, what happened around 12 years?
Yeah. So every year the league would do this event called the Face the Truth Tour. And essentially we would take big images of abortion victims out to the public square, generally very busy intersections, and show them to passersby, people in cars mostly. Sometimes we, hand out literature if we're able. And normally, my cousins and I would be handed the sign of a cute little baby because, we were kids. And one year when I was 12, these two things kind of coincide, but I was given the picture of a baby who's a victim to abortion. His name was Baby David. And I just was shocked. I had seen the signs like, a few feet down from me,
Yeah.
other adults holding it, but it was very different holding that sign for an hour and a half myself. And then also around that age, I learned how babies were actually conceived. And I couldn't fathom that people would participate in an act that they knew could have the outcome of another human being and still go through with it and then choose abortion. So at the age of 12 was a big turning point for me. And so I remember just being on the family computer at like 2 in the morning, watching Aid for Women videos and live action videos and Created Equal, just diving in headfirst, trying to learn as much as I could about this. And yeah.
Wow. Wow. Now, we won't get into the whole how babies are created. I'm sure there's other videos for that. Now, the idea of bringing these types of images can, in fact, be very controversial, even among pro-life individuals. What kind of responses do you get out there?
It's actually changed drastically since I would say the overturning of Roe v. Wade is when I noticed a big change. We used to get, I've had eggs thrown at me. I've had people smash my phone. Generally, people were shocked. They were interested. They were angry. They had emotion. They had a response. But the last couple years, we've actually noticed a steep decline in people responding to these images. My theory is that after Roe v. Wade, I noticed that on social media, a lot of abortion victim images were being posted. And I believe that maybe the general public became kind of desensitized to them,
Yeah.
and they're not as shocking as they were before. And I'm not saying that they need to be shocking, they should be educational, but we're kind of sitting here as an organization that has used abortion victim images for a very, very long time, wondering the new direction for abortion victim images. There's a time and a place, and we're kind of trying to learn what that is. We tested a theory actually at a college campus where rather than displaying abortion victim images, we set up a table with information on the abortion pill. We invited students to come and talk to us. We gave them a flyer with just words, just information. But on the table, there was a binder that said, warning, abortion victim images inside. And they had the freedom to then open the book and flip through victims of specifically the abortion pill. And the response was very different. But it was good. They had interest. They were asking questions. They were understanding it more than if you would just see it on the street and flip us off.
Right.
Which we liked. It was a good response.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always think of when using these more graphic images of aborted children, I look at it more from the Holocaust. Right. We have these textbooks that we give to our young children, and there are images of Jews who are literally piled on top of each other in these concentration camps after they died. Yet we show these images to our elementary school children or our high schoolers. Right. We show these images, and we do it for specific reasons because we don't want history to continue and to repeat itself. But, in the pro-life movement, we have to do it incredibly delicately because it's not just killing another individual that you don't know. It's killing a person who's inside of you.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about Pro-Life Action League, some of the other things that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so the organization founded in 1980 by my grandfather is an activism organization. That's who we are at the core. We are able to point people in the direction of help, of course, but we're an activist organization at our core. But we have been doing activism for, oh my gosh, how many years has it been?
Is that 45 years?
45 years? Yeah, wow. 45 years. And of course, over 45 years, a movement is going to change, if not hopefully end. So, we've been doing activism one way for a while. And now in this kind of post-Roe era, we're kind of rethinking how we do things. And truly what we want is the most effective form of activism, and that's going to change over time. So like I said with the abortion victim images are important. These babies deserve to be shown. They deserve people to know who they were, to pray for them, to dignify them, to show their faces, and they deserve that. I believe that. But in what way? There was once upon a time when it was very effective to have a huge display on the side of the road. Now we're wondering, okay, what is the new way of showing abortion victim images? Is it still that, or has it changed to maybe a more voluntary form of viewing them, such as the abortion victim binder, for example? So, we've been having a lot of meetings recently, just kind of talking about that and the movement, and what is important. And one thing that we've been kind of thinking about recently is this idea of making activism just part of your day-to-day life and just incorporating that. So one way that I kind of do that is I have this pro-life go box is what I call it, in my car. And it's just got some basic stuff, right? So it's got a bunch of our flyers on the Pro-Life Action League website. It's got our handbook, our pro-life message, sharing the pro-life message handbook. It's got some baby diapers and clothes and chalk, just sidewalk counseling material, just things to have in my car that when I think of it, or when I have a minute, or if somebody I see on the side of the road needs help or something like that, like I have this box in my car that is just ready to go. And I've used it a lot, and it's been super helpful. So, just trying to incorporate pro-life stuff into your day-to-day life. We're still out there doing our protests and prayer vigils. We're huge for the National Day of Remembrance that happens every September, and our Way of the Cross for victims of abortion that happens on Good Friday. So yeah, that's kind of where we are right now.
Again, we're chatting with Hope Fryer of Pro-Life Action League. And so one of the things I was very surprised by is that you actually now live minutes away from one or even two abortion facilities now. How does that impact you just from a day to day?
Well, it's made it a lot easier to get out to the clinic, which is a good and bad thing, of course. Prior to moving up here, the nearest abortion clinic was an hour away, and so it was quite an event to get out there. I sidewalk counseled once a month in Aurora for about a year and a half prior to moving up here, and that was good. But getting out there, my husband and I will be, we have to leave in 30 minutes to get to my brother's house. Why don't we just quickly go stop at the Planned Parenthood and pray? That's been kind of nice that it's just, so close that we're able to kind of just, we have a few minutes. Let's just go do that real quickly. The other day, it was National Pro-Life Chalk Day, and we were leaving again to go out, and I was like, let me just stop here real quickly and do some chalking, and I was able to go get my go box and pull that chalk out and do that before we ran our errands, and that for that reason, it's nice, but it's also sad to see, when you're driving in on the highway, escorts outside and knowing that babies are dying just so close to where we live, it's a little eerie.
Yeah, for the listeners, what is an escort? What are you referencing?
Yeah, so the escorts are typically at an abortion facility, Planned Parenthood, wherever really, and they help the women walk inside and stay distracted from the pro-lifers who are typically outside, maybe trying to sidewalk counsel. They kind of shield them from us and talk to them, distract them, whatever. They're kind of there also to kind of, catch us if, somebody does something that they're not maybe a fan of, and they call the police a lot. They're kind of volunteer security, I guess, maybe. But
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah.
And then you mentioned chalking. So what is pro-life chalking? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I just did 3 sidewalk squares outside of Planned Parenthood, but I just took my chalk, and I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination at all whatsoever. So I didn't do any drawings or anything like that. So I just wrote messages in big bold letters, and so I did one that said, Your heartbeat began at 18 days. I did another one that had a help hotline. I think I went to option line. It was, 24/7 pregnancy help, and then I wrote down the number on on the sidewalk. And then the last one I did just this last time was just choose life. So
Mm.
I do it right outside the Planned Parenthood. And the one down here or up here in Milwaukee is actually great because the sidewalk is right there. Often I feel like we have to be on the other side of the road or it's hard to
Yeah.
access. And this is neat because it's right there. And they were oddly nice. I accidentally slipped my foot on when I was like bedding down chalking onto their property a little bit. And they just came out and were like, hey, by the way, you need to move your foot. And I was like, oh, so sorry.
Oh
And
gosh.
I mean, a little paranoid, like, come on, it was my toe, but overall they were nice. So I was like, okay, I'll respect you if you're respecting. That's great. So we did that. In the summer on the 4th of July, my friends and I got together, and there was something happening with Planned Parenthood that day. I can't remember what exactly, but something was happening on the 4th of July with Planned Parenthood. So I was like, let's go talking before we go to the beach. And they're like, oh, Hope, that is so on brand for you. It's like, yes. And so my friend did a great drawing of an unborn baby, and I did the help hotline again. So it's just a good, simple way, that legal way to get information out there. It's a good thing to do. It's easy to do. It's cheap to do. You can get
Yeah.
chalk from the Dollar Tree. Keep it in your car. Yeah.
Incredible. Now, your work over at Pro-Life Action League is youth outreach. So
Yeah.
tell us about some of that work, maybe on college campuses or elsewhere.
Yeah, my heart has been with the youth since I, kind of took on this independent role. I am the youth, so I have a big heart for that. I feel like there's so much potential in my generation, so much passion and courage that I really want to tap into and encourage these young kids to get involved and to speak up for what they believe in and to believe in something. I think is huge. I feel like so many people are kind of flippant and they don't really have convictions or beliefs, and they may, be pro-life for themselves but not for other people. And so I think it's important to have conviction, to have belief, and to challenge students on that, and maybe to bring awareness to a belief that they didn't realize they had. So we have been going to college campuses. We went to 4 last fall. We had pretty big ambitions for this fall, but we had some things that happened, so it kind of went a little awry. But we're hoping to get back out there soon. We went to community college recently and did the abortion pill display, and we really liked that one. And I think we're going to try that one again. But we had some great conversations with some young people, just encouraging them in the beliefs they already had, and then challenging them on the beliefs that they had, if they were pro-choice or something like that. We had one really good conversation with a young guy who was either Christian or Catholic, I can't remember, but he was pro-life, but he lived with his grandma who was very pro-choice, and he was wondering how to kind of navigate that. And he was like, okay, I'm pro-life, but I don't understand a lot of stuff. So he had a lot of incredible questions, and we were able to kind of help him. So he was pro-life, but then we were able to give him the proper pro-life answers to things that he was wondering about. And then we talked to a girl who had worked at Planned Parenthood and was coming back to school, and she really believed in the work she was doing, and we were able to kind of challenge her on that. And it was great. Yeah.
Incredible. What are some of the things, most common questions that people are asking with regards to abortion?
I think a lot of people don't understand it. They know generally that it's a medical procedure. I think they're not necessarily asking questions, but I would say they're making assumptions. I notice that a lot in comments on social media or even just in person, of just naive statements that are just simply not true. A lot of kids, don't even know who Planned Parenthood is, which is
Mm.
crazy to me.
Well, that's a
We
great thing, actually.
Yeah, I believe that Planned Parenthood is on the downfall. So, they are on their decline. So I'm great with it, but it's shocking that they're like, what? We were at a college last year. It was the one I attended, and we were asking students, questions about Planned Parenthood, and one girl was just like, "What even is Planned Parenthood?"
Mm-hmm.
And we were just all taken aback. We were like, "Kids don't know who Planned Parenthood is?" So I think it's less questions that people are asking and more naive statements that people are making, and we're able to kind of redirect and give the proper solution and answers. But again, it just comes down to a lot of just not understanding and believing the lies that they've been told.
Yeah. I was actually chatting with some people last night, and they were asking specifically about Planned Parenthood and how, don't we need some kind of pro-life brand across the country that can compete with Planned Parenthood? And our discussions really surrounded not that they have, a billion or even $2 billion worth of revenue and whatnot, and a massive marketing budget, but instead, like, look, us as pro-lifers are free advertising for them. We talk about Planned Parenthood all the time, and the name recognition continues to go up every single day with regards to Planned Parenthood. However, I think in your experience is that I think Planned Parenthood is definitively on the decline. I think the next generation is going to ignore them because I think they're old news.
Yeah, I believe that they're very old news, and I'm glad for that. It's not new to anybody that Margaret Sanger was a eugenicist who was also a racist. That's not new to anybody. It's not new to anybody that Planned Parenthood covers up, trafficking. And I'm glad that that's not new to people, because if we were still fighting that fight, I feel like we would be worn and exhausted. But instead, I feel like we've shown the country that Planned Parenthood can't be trusted. And I think that Trump defunding Planned Parenthood to any extent was a good thing, because it exposed a lot more of Planned Parenthood, and it exposed how, even the New York Times had an article talking about how Planned Parenthood was on the downfall, and they're overworked, and they're not spending their money where they say they're spending their money, and they tried to paint it as Planned Parenthood was a victim, but in reality, it just showed that Planned Parenthood is not great. It's not great for women, and they weren't doing right by their clients. And that was good.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about a few things, maybe, tangentially related to the pro-life movement. But I hope you are recently married, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So congratulations on
Thank
being
you.
a newlywed.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the reality of marriage. A lot of people are waiting for a long time, or just not getting married. They'll cohabitate and they'll hang out with the same guy or gal for about 10 years. And hey, you want to get married? I guess maybe we have enough money now. Maybe there's a lot of excuses why they wouldn't, make the commitment early. So tell us about your experience and why marriage is so important to you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm still learning. I'm only, I think, just about 3 months in, I think. Still learning every day, which is so good. My husband and I were very lucky. We've known each other since we were little. I think we technically met when we were 6 years old, when my family started homeschooling. But we became good friends when I was about 15. And then my parents had a rule that we had to wait until we were 18 to date. So we did. And then we were engaged by the time I was 19. I think the most important thing for us was, well, we're both Catholics. We both have strong faith. And so obviously there are rules in that, which were very beneficial and sacrificial. And that sacrifice you make when you're dating and things like that actually rolls over into marriage in such a beautiful way that I never realized before. That was very helpful, and we loved that. And the other thing is that we have so many incredible role models in our families. Both our parents have been married for my parents have been married for 30 years this year, and his parents, I believe, just celebrated their 25th. So we have incredible examples. I have two brothers who are married and having lots of babies, and that's, they're incredible examples. And same with his sister, also got married. And so we were blessed with so many great examples of marriage and sacrifice and true, authentic Christian love for one another and the way that marriage should be. We felt very much like we want this and we can do this. And so, he's still in school. He's at class right now. He's still in school, and I'm working in the movement. And so, a lot of people were like, are you sure about the timing? Should you wait till he graduates and everything? And what about kids and everything? And we were just like, yeah, this is what we want to do. And then we got pregnant immediately. And so that was definitely God's plan. And we were very at peace and open with that, and open to life. And just falling in love with God's plan for us was the most beneficial thing. And so I've been enjoying it. I'm a big fan. But with getting married getting married young and then getting pregnant right away, you expect your life to look one way, and then I got really sick, as one does
Yeah.
when they're pregnant. And and my dad was also in and out of the hospital for about 3 weeks with surgery, cancer, terrible. And so we were staying at my parents' house, watching my younger siblings. I'm sick, and this man is just driving back and forth from Milwaukee back down to Chicago every day, taking care of me and my younger siblings, and just the most sacrificial. And initially, when you get married, you're thinking it's going to be so fun and you're going to hang out every day, and it's just and it was hard because I was sick, and we were driving and commuting and taking care of my siblings, and he just stepped up to the plate. And I believe that that is the most important thing, is for men to be sacrificial, to not live for themselves, but to live for the people that they want to take care of. And so if you're a young man contemplating whether or not you should marry the girl you've been dating for years, do it. Marry her. Like, just, sacrifice for her. I mean, that is what makes us holy. That is what makes us good. And, we talk about this so much with the abortion issue, is, do men have a place? Do men have a say? And so often if a man, gets his girlfriend or wife pregnant, they say, oh, well, I'll do whatever for you. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. That's actually not helpful. What she wants to hear, and there's studies on this, what she wants to hear is that you're here for her. You're going to get her through this. You're going to be the shoulder to lean on. You're going to do whatever it takes to make her as comfortable and happy as possible in a time that might not be the easiest. And so if you're able to step up to the plate in that way, so many women would choose life, and so many more babies would be born.
Yeah. Well, study after study, poll after poll says the most important person in their decision to have an abortion or not is the father of the child. Their most important influencer is this person. And so if you're a man out there and you're listening, just know that you have a huge opportunity to take care of these women, to give them a voice, to give them an opportunity to choose life. I mean, even in our pregnancy center, these women continue to come in over and over and over again. We say, well, what would make you choose parenting or adoption or something else? And they say, well, maybe if my boyfriend or the father of the child, maybe if he wasn't such a dirtbag or wasn't such a jerk, right? If he actually supported me, actually loved me, actually cared for me, then maybe this wouldn't be a big issue. So talking about pregnancy centers, I heard you got to meet your baby first at a pregnancy center. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So when we were moving up to Milwaukee, I was like, okay, I really want to get to know the PRC nearby, and just get involved, get familiar, especially if I'm going to be sidewalk counseling. I want to know the people I'm directing them to. And so it was a super small world, but my sister had just moved down to Ave Maria in Florida to go to college, and her roommate's mom happened to work at this pregnancy center that is a mile away from me. So very small world. So we called her up, and she was able to then redirect us to another young woman who she was like, oh, you're going to get along so great. She's another young Catholic mom. And I was like, oh, so fun. Okay, great. And turns out she's my sister-in-law's cousin. It was just so many small little coincidences, and it was just kind of fun. So we go, and I call them up and I say, okay, I want to have my first ultrasound at a PRC, mostly because I work in this movement and I want to be able to speak from experience. I've talked about PRCs before and that's important, but I want to actually share an experience. And if you can share an experience with these women walking into a clinic, you just become so much more appealing and trustworthy. And so I was like, this is really important to me. And so they were like, yeah, absolutely, come in. We would love to have you. So we got there and they gave us a little tour of the facility, which was so cozy, welcoming, gorgeous. Their colors are pink. And so it was very feminine, but cozy. And the one thing my husband and I noticed is that they had this huge skylight that just brought in all this natural light that made it feel even more welcoming. So they really picked a great location, and again, great job with the interior, and which makes a huge difference because the Planned Parenthood near us is by a bunch of falling down abandoned buildings, and it looks kind of scary. So those things make a difference. I feel if you're a woman in crisis and you walk up to this one place that's falling apart, kind of terrifying, and then this other place that's really cozy, warm, and welcoming, I think is important. So they did a great job with that. So we got a tour of the facility, and then they took us to the front, and then they were like, okay, you're patients now. We're going to treat you like we treat our patients. So we had to fill out some paperwork. And then they had me go take a pregnancy test. And then they brought me back to the counseling room, just me. And they told me, normally, obviously, we know you. We know that your husband's a great guy, and that you're married. But normally we bring the woman back by herself first, so that if she needs to tell us anything, or wants to just say something in confidence, maybe he doesn't know something, whatever, we want to give her that space to do that. So she asked me about like my mental health, my marital status. She asked, a little bit about like our marriage and how we got to know each other. She asked just about the pregnancy, general pregnancy related questions. And it was nice. It didn't feel like you were, in the spotlight and she was questioning you, but more just like it was a nice conversation. And then she brought my husband in, and she asked us both how we felt about the pregnancy, and, if we had any, if it was accidental or anything like that. And yeah, we obviously were both very excited. So we were an easy case, but I'm sure that's not common, but it was nice nonetheless. And then they brought us back to the ultrasound room, and they had me lay down, and then they showed us our baby, who was very active, very mobile. It was kind of even hard to like get a picture of the baby or measure the baby because baby kept jumping up and down, but it was really awesome. It was crazy because we were 11 weeks, I think, at that point. And, you're sick and everything like that. But then they put this, you get the ultrasound, and all of a sudden they scan over your stomach, and it's just boom, baby. And you see the arms and the legs, and you see the baby's head, and you're like, oh my goodness, that's inside. That's like actually in me. That's crazy. That like my sickness has not been for nothing. Like there's something going on here, and it's incredible. And then they let us listen to the heartbeat, which made me cry. And I had so many thoughts, feelings in that moment, obviously bonding with my child, realizing the reality of my child. But also I thought back to that scene in the Unplanned movie about Abby Johnson when they do the ultrasound guided abortion and they suck out the baby. And you see it on the ultrasound. Obviously, the ultrasound in the movie is fake. However, that reality is real. And it does happen. And so I was just thinking about how my baby was just in there, carefree, safest place she will ever be. He, she, we actually don't know the gender. And how for the majority of children in America, it's actually the most dangerous place.
Yeah.
And how at any moment, you could be looking at the ultrasound and then you could be in Planned Parenthood and they could be sucking your baby out. And I just couldn't fathom it. I mean, I was pro-life before I was married and pregnant, but I, in that moment, was more pro-life than I've ever been before, because these are not clumps of cells. These are not tissue. This is a human being at 11 weeks. I mean, I saw everything, and people are taking the abortion pill at 11 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, again, congratulations on the new baby and the new marriage. Again, we're chatting with Hope Fryer of Pro-Life Action League. So we are in a post-Roe America, or a after the Dobbs decision. A lot of people I've chatted with have looked at the Dobbs decision, and it's somewhat of a disappointment. There are those who are saying, well, no, the Dobbs decision sent it back to the states, and since states are smaller than the federal government, that somehow it might be easier to fight this at the state level. Yet then it cuts it all up. Now all of a sudden we have 50 different states we have to figure out and how to deal with all that. So what's your take on the Dobbs decision and what that might mean for the pro-life movement as we continue into the future?
For sure. Well, I mean, we definitely were not, I don't believe, prepared for the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Obviously, it's a good thing. It's something that needed to happen to move forward in the movement. I don't really know what the other route would have been if we didn't first overturn Roe. However, I mean, I would love a total ban, a nationwide total ban of abortion, but we're not going to get there overnight. I kind of think about it with how smoking is. People used to smoke everywhere. I mean, they used to smoke on planes and in stores and just everywhere. And then it comes out that it's not the safest thing for your body, and slowly but surely it gets restricted. And now you can only smoke in very certain designated areas, and certainly not an airplane. So my thought process is it's going to take a little while. It's going to take a little while to get people on board. It's going to take a little while to get people convinced that abortion is not the healthcare that women deserve and need. And instead we need some other things. So I think that abortion becoming illegal overnight was not going to happen. And it's okay that it hasn't. It's a bummer. Obviously, we would love if it was just gone. But I think it gives us a real opportunity to grow, and it gives us a real opportunity to kind of look outward and wonder truly what is best for these women. I think for a while, we were thinking big picture, nationwide. And I think that we're still stuck thinking that. And I don't believe that that's what this movement is about anymore. I don't even believe necessarily it's on a state level. I believe there's people who need to focus on the state level issues. But I think more than ever, it is an individual to individual issue now. And I believe that the biggest change will happen when we slowly start convincing just the people in our community, just the people around us, to choose life. Not necessarily be pro-life. Obviously, we would love that, but not everybody's there yet. There's a study that came out saying that I believe it's 2/3 of abortions are unwanted, coerced, or went against women's values. And in that study, these women are like, if I had help or support, or somebody had said to me, we're going to get through this and I'm going to be here for you, I would have chosen differently. And so if we could just talk to the women in our life, be that person in a woman's life, be the grandmother, be the friend, be the roommate, be the teacher who actually encourages her in choosing life and actually being there to help her, and not just saying, I'll do whatever you want me to do, I'll support you, whatever you decide, but saying, hey, I know this is hard, but you're strong and we're going to get through this together. I'm going to help you. We're going to do this. Giving her that confidence. And then talking to your kids about it, talking to your friends about it. It's an individual to individual issue, I believe now. And obviously, public forms of activism are still important and they still need to happen. But in a post-Roe America, I believe individual to individual is more important than ever before.
Well, absolutely. And I don't think anyone could say it better than that. So we've been listening to Hope Fryer of Pro-Life Action League. Hope, if anyone wants to get involved with Pro-Life Action League or any of your work, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I believe would just be following us on our social media. It's Pro-Life Action League everywhere: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Our website is just prolifeaction.org. We've got some great resources there. And then, of course, you can reach out to me personally. Email is super simple. It's just hope@prolifeaction.org. So it's just hope at our website. Super easy. So yeah, if you want to get involved, if you want to get in touch, I do a lot of public speaking as well, college outreach, podcasting as I am here. So anything like that, you know where to find me. And yeah, social media, website, email.
Incredible. Hope Fryer, Pro-Life Action League, thanks for being on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.